Well, hello everyone. My name is Christine Augustine, and I am the grad assistant from the Office of Health Promotion and Wellness at DePaul. And welcome to Don't Not Wait to Get Help. Today we have James Stewart from Adult Veteran Commuter Student Affairs. So welcome, James. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, yes. So before we get into the questions, I am just going to allow you guys to come on in, check in if you haven't, and also register if you haven't. If you're not sure, feel free to check out the link that is down below. Throughout this time, you will see the check-in link and also the register link. Please, please, please do not forget to check in. We want to know who has attended and engaged with us. And just we can't wait to see more of you coming to our events. So I'm going to start with some questions, James, for you. First, just feel free to introduce yourself. Tell us more about you, your pronouns, your identity, in the office, of course.
Yeah, so I'm James Stewart. I use he, him, his pronouns. And I'm the Director of Adult Veteran and Commuter Student Affairs. I have been at DePaul almost 8 years, originally from Arkansas, but lived in Chicago for a decade now. And our office is here to, contribute to the success of those populations. And I absolutely love the thing that motivates me each day is hoping that we contribute to helping our students that fall under those different groups be successful. Yeah, so that's me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, I know when I was an undergrad, I didn't really know much about your office because I feel like it was kind of like in the corner.
Mhm.
But I'm so happy to know that there is an office dedicated to providing services for different identities, especially when it comes to being an adult and a commuter student. DePaul is definitely a big commuter school,
Yeah,
especially during this
yeah,
time.
right. Now it's almost everybody.
No, yeah. I also actually have a question. What is the definition of a commuter student? Because I've had conversations with people and they said oh, you have to live
Mhm.
very far from campus, but some other people say off campus
Yeah.
residence.
I tend to think about both our adult and our commuter umbrellas. If you consider yourself an adult student or a commuter student, you are. There is data reporting ways in which we can be more specific and think of all types of terms. Resimmuter, that might be the close students that live off campus, or commuters that are coming from further. But at the end of the day, in my mind, for programming that's targeting our adults or commuters, if you find those of interest, then we're here for you. It's much like on the adult side. There's very technical, over 24 years old and an undergraduate or graduate student. However, you could be a student with a child, for instance, and having a very different experience than a traditional 18 to 22-year-old, and want to identify with adult students that come to some of our programs. So we would not card your ID for your age at the door.
Yeah.
So if you consider yourself covered by those. So in a lot of ways, I think it could be any students that don't live in campus housing, because once you live on campus, you have a number of extra support structures with RDs, RAs, and stuff that you don't have even if you live a few blocks away. So in my mind, you're an adult and a commuter if you think you are.
Yeah, that's so great to hear. And I'm hoping that the people that are watching this now or maybe later really can know that there is an office for that provides services for however they identify themselves, whether they identify as a commuter or not. You still a helpful resource to help us navigate school, especially during this time in college. So can you also tell us more about any updates about your office now that things are going virtual?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're completely open and serving our students in a variety of ways. And really, I think the easiest way to navigate the options for that is to go to our website, which is really easy, go.depaul.edu/AVCSA, which is our long little acronym. But it takes you to our main page on the student affairs, and there the links are to the virtual office. We actually have live chat on all our websites within our department. So, like, you could be on the page for commuters, the page for students with children or vets, and you've got the chat box down there 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. It's one of our staff on it, and you could chat a question with us. Also, our phone numbers, and we have email addresses by each of the populations. So really, our website on the student affairs side is kind of a hub for which you could get all the links to access our virtual office that's open Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. But like I said, the live chat, if that's easier than popping in a Zoom room and you don't want to kind of face-to-face ask, and then of course email and phone are still available. And if it's a more complex issue, then we'll set up a time and meet with you. But it can be also simple drop-in questions, and we can hopefully answer them right on the fly.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Can you also talk about like a general overview of like the services that you're providing or that your office is providing, or even programs during these times?
Yeah, so I think that in general, our office contributes to the success for those populations. And we do that in a variety of different ways. So some of it is very success focused. So for instance, we have scholarships. In fact, I think a number of them closed this week. So if you're watching it and you're an adult or grad student, get out there and look at them on the Scholarship Connect. We have a program typically that, although right now it's not being executed, it's like Take a Professor to Lunch, that lets students get a buddy. It's got to be at least 2 people and up to 8, and they can get a free meal with their faculty to get that engagement outside the class. We regularly communicate with our students with some proactive kind of tips throughout the quarter. We, at the beginning of the year, actually did an event, and it still is on our social media and stuff, called Smart Start, where we hear from a lot of offices that we know that can contribute to student success in these short little like TED Talk presentations. We regularly do workshops like on time management and Gallup strengths, where you can learn about your talents. It's just a couple of examples, and those are on our D-Hub pages whenever we've got those. We do also a set of events that's really around community building for our population. So for instance, some events are coming up for Veterans Day, and some are meant to be campus-wide celebration, but some are for vets to get to be with other vets. And so we similarly think about community building program for adult students and our commuters. A lot of our commuter programming this fall is happening on our Instagram. If you follow DPU Commuters, we do takeover Tuesdays. And then Wednesday, there's Cravings, where you can live cook along with a commuter student at 4 o'clock on Wednesdays on our Instagram. So those are just fun ways to kind of be connected with other students and involved. And when we're open, we have lounges in our Loop campus for each of our populations. So there is the Veteran Student Lounge, a Commuter Student Lounge, and the Adult Student Center. That's really spaces where you could study, but you can also relax and be around similar students with your identity. Then we do a number of kind of services all the time. So we operate the off-campus housing website, where students can find tips for that. They could find apartments. They can post and browse roommate profiles. We offer coaching for our vets. It's like, we call them vet peer assistance. That's outreach to military connected students to give them a peer to support them in this transition they're doing. And then we do all the educational benefits also for our vet students. So the GI Bill and the processing of those benefits. So that's, kind of the broad categories: our services, community building events, and then the stuff that are directly connected to student success.
Wow, thank you so much. And I definitely appreciate the office that you're in. And it's so important and to have an office that provides a variety of different types of services that benefit student success. The next question is, what are some reasons that students will seek help from your office? So like maybe kind of share some things that you have heard or been asked around this time when it comes to seeking help from your office?
Yeah, it can vary so widely. So there's so many different types of examples. One thing is, I would want students who fall under our umbrellas to know if they don't know where else to go, they could come to us. So like I would hate for a commuter student, not having maybe that RA or RD or built-in support structure, but you don't know who this is a question for or how to get help. You could start with us because by virtue of, being an adult commuter or vet, we will help you to navigate the university, which can be complex. I think we also have a number of students who want to find community with each other. So, we do, you might be an adult that's, busy and everything, but you'd also like to meet other students. You could be
Mhm.
a veteran just out and want to know others that are going through this similar transition that you are. So kind of finding others is an important thing. I generally, a lot of what we're doing though is helping students in the particular different buckets with a little bit different stuff. So our veterans, the bulk of what we're doing is a lot of times helping them with their military benefits and executing that. They can be quite complex and there can be, ways in which it can be confusing and difficult to navigate. And so there's lots of questions related to that. In the commuter area, it tends to be a lot of students when they're looking for housing. That's a daunting, scary thing, your first apartment search. And so a lot of, in a typical springtime, we'll be doing lots of workshops or even sometimes tabling in residence halls and stuff to help students just make a plan for that process. We can't do it for you. You say you want a 2-bedroom with a washer dryer, and we're like, here's your options. But we
Yeah.
can walk you through your plan that can hopefully help students just feel more empowered in going through that. With our adult students, I think our adult students come in such a wide diversity that it's hard to think of kind of typical questions. You can have the grad student that newly moved to Chicago that wants to find other students, and then you can also have the adult student that is a parent that's juggling a job and got kind of real life adult problems, if you will, and working maybe strategically with the dean of students office and stuff like that. So with all our populations, it can be complex and it can be less complex, the issues, but we try to work with everyone in the Division of Student Affairs and across the university to well serve our students. I'd also add that our main footprint is in the Loop campus. We do have an office in Lincoln Park. Up on the 3rd floor, we're kind of back in the corner in room 360 by the Center for Students with Disabilities. But at the Loop, we're really all over the 11th floor there, and our office operates that main information desk there. But all our lounge spaces are up on the 11th floor, as well as the vet office. The adult student center is staffed when it's open, as well as the vet lounge. And so there's plenty of places to kind of stop and ask questions. And I would say sometimes we're also then, because of having such a big footprint and really the only office in student affairs that's main office is in the Loop, we also kind of can serve as a catch-all for student issues in the Loop campus, which is great. I mean, I want those students to know that the division fully supports them. And, you might be a traditional student that lives on campus and stuff, but you start encountering an issue while you're in the Loop down there, come upstairs and we can start getting you connected with who needs to be involved and stuff. And so quite a bit that happens when we're in person.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you. We have some comments from our viewers, or some questions. Wynette says, not sure if this was touched on already, but how has support changed with most things being virtual?
Mm-hmm. This is complicated. I mean, I think that support has not changed. We're here. I mean, I think it takes more effort on the student to reach out to us. Now, we've upped how we're accessible. Like we did not have live chat on all our web pages prior to the pandemic. And that's such a quick, easy way to just pop onto our department website and start asking a question. But it was also easy when, say you were in the Loop campus, you already had class and you just have that thing you don't really know, to pop by a desk or in one of our lounges, walk up to the student worker and ask a question. And I don't want to pretend that it's not sometimes easier in person to just ask those than to have to go to our website and take that effort. But we're really providing the support services we can virtually. I think the only area where there might be a little bit less is events, and we're always open to ideas for events. And we've done a number of virtual events that have both been very structured, like our Smart Start, but also really just kind of hang out. Like we've done a few for students with children, for instance. But the virtual events are hard, and we all kind of get Zoom fatigue and stuff. And so we're always looking for new and creative ideas to do virtual engagement.
No, thank you for saying that because I do feel as though just working at HPW, I feel as that the support is like still here, like we're still here to support the DePaul community. I just think it does take a little bit more effort from students, faculty, or even just any DePaul community member to get that, and it does take a lot of courage. And but yeah, I definitely agree. So thank you for stating that. The next question I have is, what's one myth you want to bust about seeking help today?
I think that I somewhat hit on it, but I would just reiterate that you don't have to be adult by age or meet what you think is commuter, maybe suburban or something, to seek out the services of our office. We're here to help you. And if a program on time management interests you and you live in the residence hall, come. Our events and services are open to everyone. And so I think that I would just reiterate that. I mean, there are some that are obviously targeting particular populations, like students with children and such, but our programs and services are open to everyone, and that fits in much like I was talking about with like the Loop campus. That we get a lot of questions that just may not even be directly related to the population, but they don't know where to go. And so they come upstairs and start with us, and we're happy to help in those uh, situations, even virtually.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. Yeah, that is really, really. I'm glad that we talked about that in the beginning because that wasn't a question that I had on the list, but it was a question that I've always, because I think it was like one time, it was probably like last year, 2 years ago, it was like a commuter event where I think it was like Commuter Student Appreciation.
Yeah, yeah.
And I remember talking with just other Heat members, like, okay, what is a commuter?
Mm-hmm.
What if there's a specific like rule that you have to live a certain amount of miles away? But to know that like it just really just depends on how we define ourselves.
Yeah, I think that there are ways data-wise we might look at it that would be
Yeah,
different. But if you think you're a commuter and you just come down from Belmont when we're on campus to Lincoln Park, then like our programs are open to you.
yeah, that's awesome. And speaking to like new students, even first year students, what's one piece of advice for students or these types of students that are new to the PAW community that you would like to share?
I think I would really recommend taking advantage of services and resources. DePaul is rich in um, services and resources. And I think that, to go through your experience, and it can always feel like I've got a lot to do. I need to be reading this, I've got a lot of work to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that it's really important to take advantage of the services and resources. And so go to those career services programs, come to our workshops, take advantage of, events like this. Lean into the full DePaul experience, because you'd be surprised how much even outside of those class environments you can learn.
Yeah, and this kind of geared to someone else's question. We have Brittany. Her question was, how do you recommend your students who are new go about connecting with other adult students or veterans in our new virtual reality? So I know you touched on like coming to the events because you never know who you meet too
Yeah,
virtually.
you know,
Is there
uh,
any other?
yeah, I think that, also sometimes the more unstructured, we don't, for instance, early in the quarter, we did a dinner with your class for upper class students, and it was really no agenda. It was just an event. If I
Mhm.
were to think about the next opportunity like that coming up, we're actually doing a luncheon kind of event on November 11th for Veterans Day. And it will start with some remarks and a small prayer service, but then the rest of the event is going to just be a Zoom room in which we're in community with each other and see where the conversation goes and how long it goes. We did a very similar thing with Memorial Day. Now that has a very different tone and tenor than Veterans Day, which is much more celebratory.
Yeah.
But it ended up being such a great moving kind of discussion with the students in attendance. So that's probably the next opportunity. 2 weeks from tomorrow, it's on our D Hub and stuff, but register and come. Because like I said, we've got a pretty short program part, and then the rest will just be being with each other. And I think whenever you can find those events, and there's lots of them on the Den, they're great to engage with. The vets, if you're a veteran, also, I'm not sure if you are, Brittany, but they're going to also be sending out a bunch of links because if you are a vet, you probably know that on Veterans Day, tons of restaurants give very steep discounts, if not sometimes free. And so we're actually cataloging a lot of those opportunities to send to students because typically we do provide a lunch at the Veterans Day luncheon. But this year, because we're all virtual, we're going to be sending out all these places where you could get really discounted or free food and saying, go out and get it and then join us at noon.
Oh, that's so cool. That's such a great idea. And do you have also like a social media, like where?
We do. So DePaul AVCSA is on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. And then we do have another Instagram that's also DPU Commuter that tends to be more student ran. It's actually ran by our first year Edge team. And so they're the ones that do the Takeover Tuesday, the Commuter Craving Cook Along. And you can go live with them. And they've had it where multiple students cooking and stuff. So that's tomorrow at 4 on Instagram, DPU Commuter.
Awesome. That's super cool. And well, do you also like for the list of like restaurants that have like discounted things? Will that be displayed on social media or that would be like sent out via email?
We were planning on sending it to our student veterans, but that's a good idea. We'll put it on social media as well. We tend to know who our 600 or so veterans are, and so we do a lot of kind of internal communication to them, but we'll put it on social media as well, because you could not be a vet, but maybe your brother is, and you want to be like, you got this long list of places you can get some free food today.
Yes, that is just, that's an example of the Take Care to Paul message, to, share it, not only help you, but also help others. So that's super cool. Let's see. So our next question is, what's your favorite part about your job?
Whenever I can, I think help students like that. I've got a helper personality and mentality. And I think that like, when I have a day in which there's been a student with an issue or several and questions, and I feel like, maybe I didn't even get them all the way the right answer, but I'm connected to the right people and stuff. Those are the days that are great days.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Just love helping the DePaul community in any way that I can. That's awesome. During this time, has your like self-care techniques have been changing, or like, is there something that you've been doing differently?
This is so important because I think like the reality of this ongoing kind of, partial isolation with the pandemic and stuff. I have found that I have been connecting more with friends that are, hundreds of miles away than I ever regularly did before. So, like Zoom Friday night hangouts with friends and stuff, and just the way that would not have been possible before this. But also like sometimes hour-long phone conversations that it just seemed like when life was, pre-COVID, you wanted to do, but everything would get in the way of kind of finding the time to do that. And I've found a lot more time over the past few months to catch up, it feels, with friends kind of all over. And that feels really good. And I think I try to remember that when I start getting super stressed and there's lots going on. It's like, you know what? I need to call so-and-so this weekend and catch up. And it rejuvenates a person in some way.
It sure does. I totally agree. That's something that I've been doing more, just like getting to know people during these times. And it's exciting. It's so exciting and to really even maintain strong friendships. Like that is something that I also agree with of how. And thank you for even sharing a self-care technique that's usually not really promoted as much. I think a lot of self-care techniques that are awesome. I definitely agree. Like, making sure you're eating on time, getting your rest. But I mean, I think that self-care definitely is just anything that gives you joy and peace. So if that is getting to know someone or that is having a conversation, that is what gives you peace.
Yeah, I think it can be so important in this. Sometimes like I don't have in my apartment outside space and stuff, so it can feel almost in its own way very confining. But then to
Yeah.
like reconnect on a weekend with friends on Zoom or something, and you're all over the country and everything, it just suddenly makes like a small world feel a lot bigger, and it also is a lot of fun and stuff. And believe me, after a week of being in Zooms and stuff, sometimes it's the last thing it feels like I want to do, but
Yeah.
it's so rejuvenating to do that. And so I just have tried to really prioritize social connections in this time in just completely different ways than a person did before this pandemic.
For sure. Yeah, I definitely agree. That's something I've been doing because I think before the pandemic, I was just so busy with school and with extracurricular activities that I did not make enough time for like my social life. But I'm using this time to really just like really get into my social life and social connection because that's something that I just didn't do. So I'm hoping that individuals that are watching are also writing some tips that you've provided.
Mhm.
But yes, thank you so much. For those who are watching, if you have any last minute questions, please feel free to comment below. Um, any Even any comments to what James and I were just conversing about, please feel free to comment. Is there anything else that you would like to say, James, while we wait for some comments?
I would just encourage students to even pop by our virtual office. Like we can. You might not even know the questions you have until you start visiting, and our student staff working in there are eager to help. And in fact, not to like, because I don't know this is ongoing, I don't want to promise, but like there have been periods of time in which we've had multiple student staff in the virtual office, and they almost have like shows going on. So it's like dishing with Matt in the morning, and he would be doing dishes and like, and stuff. And so like they're having their own fun. So you might as well join in sometimes, and you could become a regular in our virtual office, and we would welcome that.
Oh, that's awesome. And thank you so much for just sharing. And we definitely love the work that you do. And we cannot wait to just collaborate more.
Yeah.
I have a comment. Brittany said, can you once again drop your social media platforms?
Yeah, absolutely. So on Facebook and Twitter, it is DePaul AVCSA all together. So like twitter.com/DePaul AVCSA or facebook.com/DePaul AVCSA. And on Instagram, DPU Commuter. And so, yeah, follow us and like us and everything. And we'd love to engage with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So just to, respect your time again, thank you so much, James. I hope you have a great rest of your
Thank you.
day. And for those who are watching, please do not forget, if you joined us today, please feel free to check in or register via D-Hub. The link is down below. And also check in on our other D-Hub events that we're having this week. Today we're having a ViniVal bystander intervention training. Feel free to register. And then we also have some cool things. So yeah, check our D-Hub and also just connect with AVCSA and let us know. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.